trying to get something about it. No, I'm trying to find out the sickness I'm trying to get. I got my vitamin C drops right here.
What you got?
I don't have time to get sick.
You don't feel sick?
Yeah, it's just like this great cough and I think that's what we're trying to get. I don't want to get it.
Yeah, you sound.
It's like all my throat. I'm going to tell if it's not happening. This, because you know this is where we're going to go. Bubba's already got to go.
That's what Bubba was talking about last night. So what is that?
They already got to go. It's
Hold on.
here. Alright, hold on. I'm getting off.
Are you throwing PowerPoint at all?
Well, here's a picture of Bubba.
Yeah. Yeah. You doing with this one?
Yeah, like I plugged it in earlier.
Alright. I need to record your presentation.
What zoom in on this video?
Oh, okay.
There you go, just like that.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Can you present that again? You don't have to. They just want actual recording.
Oh, in front of that?
Well, just of your actual presentation.
Yeah, I can give you a copy. Do you need a copy on
Actually, just you can just drop it right on this desktop. You can do it after. Yeah, it's fine. The logins are here. So if it goes off, just log in, drop it on the desktop.
It's getting hot in here already.
It's open, I turn it down as far as I could. Yeah.
There's a breeze. It's just yeah, it's rolling. Just wide open. Lots of holes here. Well, thank you, sir. We owe you a debt of gratitude. What's that? Absolutely. So that puts us even. We're square. I say don't ever say I didn't give you anything, but I didn't give that to you. So you're still good. You're still good. Yes, you can. This is at 9. That's why you have it here.
Yes.
We ready to go? There will be prizes based on participation. Everybody got a ticket?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Did anybody come here for the free stuff, or did they come to see me wear this jacket?
Jacket.
We'll be ready to go out for drinks and a couple cigars after this. All right.
Doors are lit up and we are ready to go. Let's see if all my Apple gear functions here. I guess that wasn't so much a joke as a statement of hope. All right, so first and foremost, where's Steve Brooks? Stand up, Steve. 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 You know what, guys? I'd like to ask for your patience. We'll entertain ourselves for 38 seconds. I'd like to wait for Steve, actually.
Be good, yeah.
See, look at that. You'll notice I didn't ask anybody to do anything. I just figured it out all on their own. That's why Mark Deal is the best. All right. So I got this jacket only for special occasions to match these shoes. And this is special. All right, so I guess I'll tell you guys what the prize is beyond the fantastic knowledge you're gonna get to partake in today. The distribution of. We've got a Alexa-powered Sonos speaker. We are gonna pull a ticket at the end, so only those people in this room are eligible to win it, which is pretty nice. So you're already like part of like a really exclusive group. I'm running out of things to say, so
Can I have a drum roll please?
Here he is,
Introducing the one,
the man of the hour, Steve Brooks.
I apologize. We had another conversation going there that ran a little longer than expected. So, thank you all for coming. Yeah, we still got more coming in. I'm Steve Brooks, Brooks Network Services. Some of you seen me around here for the last few years. Down here as a sponsor with Nickel Giza. If anybody doesn't know who we are, please just let me know. I will personally come and sit and talk with you to help educate on what we do and the services we provide. So, with that, I'm not going to hold it up. We have StorageCraft, which is going to go through their product and really what their service does for you. So, do remember at the end of it, somebody's going to get a very, very nice prize. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carl Bjerke.
So, thank you. So guys, we are going to applaud for Steve, who's got a great team and is a great guy in letting us take part in this today. So Steve, thank you. If you weren't heading home tonight, my boss was going to pick up the check. He told me so. All right. So that light is very annoying. So the topic, and Mark and I have done this a couple times. We are encouraging this to be as interactive as possible. For those of you who have spoken to me downstairs, there are prizes. Let me just turn my phone off. And that could be up to $1,000 if the scratch tickets don't lie.
Give away $1,000?
Possibly.
Okay, there you go.
We live in a world of maybes. Where? And there they are. All right. These are the Lady Lux. So our topic is related around backup and disaster recovery. It's StorageCraft that's really been our core competence for about 10 years. We do have some additional products. We're not really going to talk about the product set per se today. What we're really going to talk about is how to go from answering the question of I've had a disaster, now what, from the way that a lot of people experience it, which is a little bit of panic. Louder into a much more
Hello?
I want this out.
Sing.
Baby, you look so good tonight.
Nice stuff.
Now, I am actually just going to scream. So, my name is Carl. I basically cover the Carolinas on behalf of StorageCraft, along with my much smarter counterpart, Mr. Mark Deal, the sales engineer on my team. And look, it even says so it's got to be true. And so, if you guys are ready, we're going to kind of kick off here. And my little Siri remote needs to be moved into the background.
You're probably not making use of mine.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, I will stand like this since it's not free moving. So like all good PowerPoint presentations, my goal here is to read every word off of every slide in 12-point font. My boss was here, Mr. Mark Kroll, used to run an MSP, and he's given me a lot of great guidance, and he said, Carl, always use lots of bullets and small text so that nobody follows along, everybody just reads. But rest assured, that's not what we're going to do. Here's what we got. A very short number of slides, followed by something that no sales guy ever really wants to do, which is a live demo. But Mark Deal says this is a lock.
No, what I said was it's always fun to see what goes wrong in a live demo because something always does.
This is a discussion we've had many times, and this is not the right place for it. So, the first thing we're going to talk about in terms of our agenda is a little something I like to call the truth, followed by some numbers, and hopefully you guys will have some answers to a couple of questions. Maybe some of you know the answers already. Maybe you've been prepped. I don't know. I can't speak to that. Not playing any favorites. We're going to talk about technology. Since I was lucky enough to have some great teachers in my time, there's going to be homework for everybody. I'm not going to grade it, but I want you to know it's out there, and you can judge yourself. We're going to talk about really what is a disaster recovery strategy and plan. We're going to talk about the recovery process and how that differs based on the type of thing you're recovering from. This is really annoying. Better. Yes, yes. I'm ready to dance now. We're going to talk about the cloud. We love acronyms in my business. DRAS, Disaster Recovery as a Service, archiving, hardware versus software in terms of your DR strategy. And then, like I said, the most important part of this, where I'm not just going to be sweating because it's hot in here, the live demo. So let's talk about the truth. And when I was in junior high, I was lucky enough to have a really great teacher. And one of the things they taught me was, Carl, if you tell the truth, people can get angry, but they'll always accept it. So the truth is kind of the absolute defense. So when I say that the following is a demonstrable fact, and no matter how much we want to not believe it, we all do in our hearts, recovering from a disaster can only be done if you've invested the resources and prepared for it. There are situations that no matter how many zeros you're willing to write on the check or how much time you're willing to put into it, that if you have not done the right things ahead of time, you're not going to be able to recover. And that's kind of the truth in my industry. You know, a lot of people like to talk about backups and this, that, and the other thing. That's great, but we really need to shift the conversation towards the recovery part of this. And so that's what I call the truth. Now, the numbers part, don't worry, some of you might or might not know answers to the questions that are coming up and will be the winners, which Mark Deal is going to hand out, or some scratch tickets, in dramatic fashion, I hope. Before we talk about the numbers, one of the things that I think is really fundamental to understand is data recovery is not a one-size-fits-all. So raise your hand, maybe there's a scratch ticket for this, and give an answer on what you think a disaster is. Seriously, there we go. Hey, that's pretty good. By the way, you gave the answer too early, but hold on to that one. All right? Okay, so I would argue that in the right circumstances, if you've got a production server and a drive-down scenario, that's a disaster. Who else? Anybody else? Disaster.
Ransomware takes out your server.
Yes, great example. All right, anybody else? Natural disaster, the big one. We hear about that one on the news, right?
The user deletes their data and says they don't know what happened.
So, in case you couldn't hear her, what she said was idiot users. No. So, the reason I say that is those are all disasters based on the type of scenario. And you need to have different strategies of recovering from those based on what it is, right? So, if your refrigerator goes out in your house, do you sell your house and just go move next door?
Yes.
No, in Mark's case, you do. You move from one shed to another. No.
It's a yurt.
But it's important to recognize because you don't want to have to rebuild your house when all you need to do is replace the refrigerator. And so the ways that you recover from things that are a disaster vary based on the situation. And our specific platform has, no surprise here, a number of different recovery methods based on the type of failure that you had. So here are the numbers, and let's get ready back there. Did you get a scratch ticket already? All right, Mark, get ready. Here we go. Numbers are going to appear. All of these numbers are going to be a percentage, adding up to 99-ish%, which is close enough. Are we ready? The question is, we are going to talk about the types of failures and disasters that are likely to occur and how often they occur. So if the number is... Oh, we got to go back one. Wait. If the number is 56 as a percentage, blurt out the answer. Yes. That wasn't staged at all, by the way. I gave that answer to several people who aren't here. Oh, and well, I almost said I should have given you the next answer, but that would have been cheating. So still, the most common form of failure is really the one we hear arguably the least about. It's hardware going bad. We don't hear about it on the news. We hear about tornadoes. We hear about crypto. We hear about all kinds of stuff. But ultimately, one of the things that you're still protecting yourself against is a localized hardware failure of some kind. And because of that, if you don't have a good way to recover from that, and you're thinking about broadening your DR strategy, I would be so bold as to say you're not putting your money in the right place. You got to put it where it's going to do you some good. And until you got that 56% covered, talking about other stuff is not appropriate. All right, the next one. 26.
Malware. User.
What was that one? User. Raise your hand if you said user. Mark, pick the guy or gal you like the most and give him a ticket. Give them both one. We're getting into a position where we're going to get out tickets on IOUs. All right, so human error is still the other big one, right? And all networks would function smoothly if it didn't have people like me. All right, are we ready?
Malware. Server failure.
In the back. You know,
Space aliens.
I think I'll kind of give you that one. It's software corruption. Has anybody ever experienced that? How many raise your hand? Looks like more than 9% to me, but no. All right, so who won that one? In the back there. The gentleman with the same haircut without the spike. You're the big winner. All right. Here we go. 4%. Front row. Viruses and ransomware. And this one? You got it. You can all come see Mark afterwards. We're going to give you IOUs for tickets. No, so somebody answered that. All right, guys, are you an honest crowd? Ish? All right, who said it first? Who said it first? Right over there. See?
That's it.
I hope that ends up being more than $1. All right, so 2%. Think about what you're exposed to on a daily basis. What does everybody want to sell you? Cloud, 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 cloud. Why? In case a hurricane rips through, for a DR perspective. We sell it too. It's great stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it's 2% of this pie that you're protecting against. And in a lot of cases, it costs more than the rest of your environment to protect. So just a little bit of food for thought. My boss also told me that every presentation, no matter how sparse in content with great delivery, should have at least one pie chart. Is this a nice pie chart or what? As you can tell, my Excel skills are from 1998, the birth of Excel. What we add up here, when we add up all these little pieces, long and short of it, between 97 and 98% of failures that you're going to experience, whether it's software corruption, bad deployments, human error, hard drives, they're all recovered from locally. Think about that for a sec. Everybody is thinking about, oh, we need to get this stuff into Azure or AWS, or we need to get it off-site. And yes, that's really, really important if you've got the 98% covered. I think my experience and Mark's is that a lot of people don't. And I say that because time is a really valuable commodity, and you got to put it in the buckets that's going to do you the most good. If you don't have confidence in your ability to recover from things that are very likely and on-premise, it wouldn't hurt to do a little bit of reevaluation before we start talking about these big cloud projects. And I'm not trying to be a downer, but that's the math. All right, so before we jump into that, any questions? Avaya, go. It's these are Nicole Hahn 0 grand shoes, and you'd love them. They're like sneakers. All right, so in terms of technology, let's talk about things that end in ION. Encryption, what's another one? Deduplication. Yeah, that's a good one. What else do all the vendors want to talk about? They show you the spec sheet and it ends in ION. What's on there? That's right. Compression. Ooh, give him the last ticket. All right. People in my space love to talk about stuff that makes us feel smart. I don't really have that problem because I'm not that smart. But when we talk about encryption, deduplication, compression, agent versus agentless backups, physical versus virtual, all of these things, the thing that really needs to be on the top of the list when you evaluate technology doesn't end in one of those, and I'm really hoping the word I'm going to use doesn't end in ION. Doesn't really end in ION. Stuff needs to be easy to use and reliable, and that doesn't really make the spec sheet from a lot of vendors. And so as you go to look at solutions, it's very easy to ask questions. Oh, what's the deduplication rate? What's the compression rate? What's the bandwidth requirements? Those are all important questions, but the answers to them are pretty meaningless if the stuff is really hard to set up, configure, manage, and use. And so what I encourage everybody in this room, when it becomes time to reevaluate, you should be asking your vendors, and I'll talk about it later, for proof of concepts. Everybody should know what they're going to get before they cut the check. All right? So, I had promised homework. And by the way, these are the type of slides that I do. I think that's 200 font with not a single bullet anywhere here. So one of the things that's really important from a homework perspective is, well, someone raise your hand if you got more than 10 servers in your environment. Physical or virtual, doesn't matter. Okay. Well, you and I, we hung out last night, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
This morning.
And this morning. No, it was last night. According to my records, I was comfortably sleeping at 10, just like I always do. You're making me sweat now. All right. All right, so we agreed. We both parted ways last night at 10 o'clock. All right. So in your environment of how many servers?
100.
100. If you were to categorize them all right now on a criticality scale of 1 through 4, how comfortable are you in your analysis? Criticality meaning basically on the ones are, if this thing hiccups for a second, you got 50 people in your office getting ready to tear your hair out. Criticality 4 is, hey, that thing with the light over there, stop blinking, because nobody really noticed.
I'd say about 25% are critical.
Gotcha. So kudos to you for having done that. One of the most important things that I would encourage everybody to do as part of the homework assignment is get together with your teams and know what's truly important. When you work with vendors and you work with partners, vendors specifically, and I am one, so I feel like I can say it, we ask questions which are sometimes kind of generic. Oh, how much data you got? How many servers you got? And we give you a quote. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're solving your problem in the right way. Because the questions we really got to ask is, okay, you've got 100 servers. Let's talk about how these servers operate together. And let's make sure you're putting, unless you got an unlimited budget, in which case we will be out late tonight. You got to put your time and effort into the right buckets. And unless you got the ability to write as many zeros as you want on a check, a big part of meeting with the vendor and a partner and having a successful meeting is knowing what's important to you and not letting them drive all the conversation. So the homework assignment, not checking scores, but for yourselves, it's the most rewarding type of homework, is for you guys to get with your teams, do an analysis, look at your servers, doesn't matter whether they're physical or virtual, VMware, Hyper-V, and put them into those 4 groups. That way you're going to be able to have much more reasonable discussions with the vendors that you work with. Our cloud offering, for example, we can license it on a per server basis. If you just say we need to put all 100 servers in the cloud, you're going to get a quote with a lot of zeros on it. And you're probably not going to be able to do something. If you say, I've got 25 really critical systems, okay, terrific. Let's talk about how we protect these first and foremost locally. Again, we're playing the numbers. And then let's talk about getting these really high-value production servers off-sited in some way. Make sense? Have you all heard this before? Has anybody heard it from a guy in a jacket like this? No. All right. Come on. There we go. All right, what's a component of a disaster recovery strategy? Anybody? I like redundancy. I like off-site. All right, what else we got? Preston, I'm calling you out. What's something else? Yeah. How about reliable storagecraft software that allows you to recover your SAN when it fails? No. So, look, there's, yes, thank you. A lot of people think that DR strategy is all around backing your stuff up and having it someplace else. Recovering from a disaster means knowing what a disaster is to you, and then it means having the right software and hardware in place, and people for the most part get that. But the other parts of a DR strategy is, okay, if you have a site-wide event, and let's say you're running out of our data center, what happens after that? Do you have a co-location picked out where your new hardware is going to be sent? Do you have a credit line to support going to your vendor when you're working on the insurance paperwork to have your new hardware shipped someplace? Right? Do you have keys to get into the secondary building? Who's got the access codes? There's all kinds of things that people forget. And when you're talking, I'll say it, people like me, we often don't we don't ask those questions because, quite frankly, we're a part of the puzzle. And that, I will say it, is why working with partners like Steve really is important, because they ask the questions to the big picture. And they'll put all the parts together for you. So the DR strategy piece, it's not just software. It's not just hardware. It's knowing what's going to happen in the failback. It's knowing you got the credit line. It's knowing who the contact is at the insurance company. It's knowing have the number on your hot dial. It's all these different things so that you can recover based on the type of event that you need to recover from. Make sense? Any questions? Concerns? Guys, I'm in trouble. My boss is texting back there. This cannot be good news. Even worse is he's texting me. No. All right. All right. This is going to be quick because Mark is really going to show. We've talked about the recovery process already. Recovering when a user says, oh, I deleted something in their Exchange, should be a fundamentally different process than your building is now a crater, right? But a lot of companies, they try to make things seem so simple when in reality they're complicated. A good example is, especially when you look at virtual environments, oh, just recover the whole VM. Okay, well, why would I do that? All I need is a single item. Well, that's the way that we do it. Okay, but that's not necessarily a good answer, right? So be aware of those things. Mark, you getting ready? Good, good. All right. We're out of scratch tickets? Yeah. What do we have for... I got some cash in my pocket, maybe. All right, so what's the cloud? Did we talk last night? That's my favorite definition too. All right. Disaster recovery as a service. What's that mean to people? Anybody?
I call you.
You know what? That's actually a really good answer. I call you. I say that's a good answer because with solution like ours, that true disaster recovery as a service piece is actually done ahead of time. So speaking specifically for the type of environments and the way that we protect them within our data center, everything is pre-configured, all of the dependencies of the servers. We have the latency times between servers when they need to be booted so that everything boots correctly without blowing up on itself. And so the answer is, it's almost call me, it's actually just make sure you check the box that says real failover so it activates the networking. All right, archiving. Somebody raise their hand loud and proud and sell me on archiving. It's a good answer. It's actually, that's the best answer I've heard all day. Thank you, Mark Kroll, Director of the South at Storage Craft. That was, oh, but you know. Okay, so look, here's why I have this. A lot of people say we need to get this off-site, and that could mean I want it in the cloud, I want it as production. It can mean I want it off-site so in the event of a failure I can spin up and run from there. And sometimes it just means I got to get the stuff off-site. And it's really important, they're totally different things. And they come at dramatically different price points. If you just want to store stuff cheap and deep, there's a lot of places that'll do it, but it doesn't make the information very usable. And so if you were to graph this out, it's basically the more usable it is, the more expensive it is. And so just as we talked about rating the criticality of your servers, it's also a very good exercise to rate your storage, right? So what's tier 1, what's tier 2, and what's tier 3? Tier 1 is your applications. It needs to have the highest level of protection. Tier 2 is all the stuff in the middle, archives, videos, backups, etc., etc. And tier 3 is that stuff that if somebody wants to sue you, oh, you got to go get it for us. And then if you can't find it, nobody cares. So it's really important to know what your data set is because, again, all this stuff drives the price, right? So, click. Hardware versus software. Does anybody in here have a hardware-based backup solution?
Tape drive.
Tape drive counts. Replication. You have hardware? What kind?
Unitary.
That's okay. This, you can share here.
You have to stand up and say, hello, my name is.
Yeah. So, not for me, but for me, what are some of the pros of a hardware appliance?
For me, the access right there. I mean, it's not. I don't have to worry about having internet access. It's local.
Yep.
So if my part of my disaster is that my internet's gone, I can still recover stuff locally.
So you're doing the math, saying, hey, I need to have this to protect myself in the way that I'm going to recover from 98% of all this stuff, right? And the hardware appliances are great. Okay, I used to sell them. And the fact of the matter is, you rack them and you stack them and you're off to the races. Now here's the impolite question that's asked in public. What are some of the downsides?
It's 2 a.m. this morning.
I believe it was 9:30. I texted my wife saying I was safely in bed. You confessed your sins to me last night. I'll share. Don't worry.
Some of the downsides is not ease of access. You have to be there at
Yep.
location on site.
So some of the biggest challenges with hardware-based appliances is we kind of refer to it as Goldilocks, right? They're going to ask you a question, hey, how much storage are you going to have in 3 years? And we want to sell you something for 3 years. That's a very, very hard question to get right. The soup is almost, or porridge, I guess it is almost never the right temperature, right? And so you get locked into this model where you're kind of making promises on this is going to last forever, and then 18 months where you go and ask for a little bit more money. And then, hey, we're going to have to rip that one out. You don't want to put in another one and have 2 separate storage pools, do you? Right? And then you might have the best IT staff in the world, but do those things really run open operating systems? No. It's not a Windows box that one of you guys can fix. one of your best techs is on the phone for 4.5 hours on a problem you know you could fix in 3 minutes if you had access. And that's not saying that hardware is bad, you just need to be aware of the limitations. And again, full disclosure, we sell hardware too. On the software side, who runs backup software? Veeam. What is one positive? That might be hard. Anybody not run Veeam? No. You know, I'm just kidding. They took you out for a nice dinner.
I've got a very positive. It's better than backup exec.
Gotcha. So I'm going to share a quick story with you since you said it's better than. When Mark and I first started working together, we'd gone out for dinner. And the whole interaction was very odd because the person who was waiting on us didn't really seem like she worked there. She just kind of is like, hey guys, what's up? And we're like, who are you? Fast forward, I have gotten my fries, and the fries are terrible. They're nowhere near the quality of McDonald's fries. And she comes over and she says, how is everything? And I say, you know, these fries are terrible. And she's like, oh, well, let me get my manager. So the manager comes over, politely explains that we're going to put some fries right in the fry later for you. I said, fantastic. We sit around, we're laughing. Oh, here comes the new basket of fries. They come over 13 seconds later. Oh, are those fries any better? I said, why, yes, they are. And they walked away. And then I looked at Mark and I said, see, Mark, what happened here? They asked the wrong question. They asked me, is it any better? The bar was set here, and now it's here. It's better, but they're not good. And keep that in mind, because it's not just backup exec versus Veeam. It's not a question about just being better. In this industry, the bar is set pretty low. Let's be honest, if somebody calls you back, you're surprised for the most part. Okay? Try calling a sales guy after they sold you something. Huh. It's like, did I change my number? Why are they dodging me?
Different department. They're in a different department.
Okay, you're basically looking right at me and have switched jobs a couple times. Damn it, I set myself up for that one. All right, Mark, can you come take over now? No. So, just as you're looking at stuff, don't be afraid to think that it's got to be good. Okay? Better isn't a standard that anybody wants to live by, because most of the stuff, some of it is old, some of it is complicated, some of it is very challenging to manage, some of it, we did a proof of concept, and they're like, oh, well, you're much better than this solution. We're like, oh, why? Well, you actually recovered this database. I would argue that's better, but the fact that they hadn't kicked those other guys out months ago is astonishing. In fact, I have a colleague, and I could never be like him. And for the reference, I have no interest in being like him. He was in a meeting with the entire senior executive team of a company, and the backup admin says, well, Don, my colleague, says, so why am I here? Great question, by the way. And the backup admin says, we haven't had a successful backup in 6 months. To which Don goes, excuse me for 1 second, but how can you still have a job? Yeah. By the way, he won that deal. Kudos to Don. But again, it's not about better, guys. It's about good. All right? And defining your requirements is really important to getting the right stuff. I'll say it again. Working with the vendors directly, in a lot of cases, is not the way to go because they're focused on their very specific puzzle piece. You want to have partners that will ask you tough questions. And I've gotten plenty of phone calls where someone says, I'm looking at 15 solutions and I got an Excel sheet and I just got to fill it out. Okay. I'm sorry, but you're wasting your time. That's not how decisions like this are made. You engage the right partners. You give them an outline of what you want to do. They give you 3 solutions. They ask really tough questions. And guess what? You get to make a decision in weeks instead of months. And so I just talked about the partner piece. So I'm going to skip through that one. And we're going to go to the proof of concept. I think as a salesperson, what's every salesperson want? Has anybody ever here been in sales? Close? Oh, I thought you meant close. I'm like, yeah, I do like this jacket. They do. And when do they want to close it? That's right. And what slows down me closing this deal? Yeah, you actually want to know how it works. Right? Oh, listen, I'll give you 10 points if you can do it now. Don't sweat it. We'll take it back. It's no big deal. That's not reality. Everybody in here has heard that line. I don't operate that way. I'm an adult. I'm a professional. If the stuff works, we'd love to sell it to you. But a big part of that is insisting that you know that it works. Not try it and buy it. It's proof of concept. And again, really, really important. You got to work with the partner, and you got to tell them what success is. Hey, look, if these are the things that are important to us, and then they should be asking, okay, so if we do this and the price is right, we've got a deal and we move forward, and they should be asking that question. But they got to help you define your criteria. All right. I think we're almost ready for the big show. But first, the most dramatic slide of the afternoon. Questions. They can be trivia questions. They can be questions about our technology. They can be trivial questions about our technology. Anybody have any questions out there? I'd love to answer one. I'd love to answer half of one. Bueller. It's a great question. So, we are a backup company, and we've got a backup software solution. We've got a cloud-based solution for disaster recovery as a service and all those great things. Now, I will say we also recently added storage, which is great because before then, the StorageCraft meant nothing. We did not have storage and we did not have witchcraft. But we're finally happy to have both of those components with a little bit of magic from Mr. Mark Deal. All right, so anybody else have any questions? All right, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to take off my jacket because it's going to get hot. And we're going to talk about what's going to happen next. Mr. Mark Deal, do you want me to talk through it or do you want to?
I'll talk through as much of it as I can. Can you guys hear me in the back? I'm a pretty loud guy.
No. I'm going to stand behind you awkwardly with a microphone. Give me 1 second and lose the jacket.
If he's going to stand behind me awkwardly, I'm going to run. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's take...
I'll give a real quick overview.
What I'm actually going to be doing is demonstrate. I'll tell you what, I'll do this for this part.
So,
I'll be demonstrating several parts of our solution. The first part that we're going to be looking at is what we refer to as our IT edition, and what this is going to allow me to do is take a forensic backup of this machine that's running here. You know, you've all got that machine sitting in the corner. Every one of you, if you're partners, you've got a customer that's got that machine that's been sitting in the corner. Nobody's touched it for 15 years. They're afraid to even dust it because if it ever goes down, everything's done. Well, this is what this represents. This is an XP machine that I've had for a long time. The other part of that solution is it's a relatively small operating system, so I can back it up in a hurry. So I'm going to back it up to this hard drive, this external hard drive that's going to represent the NAS or BDR that you're going to have on site. Then I'm going to simulate a disaster. BDR is a backup or a disaster recovery appliance. It's just one of our acronyms we like to use. Then we're going to simulate a hardware failure by taking the hard drive completely out of the machine and handing it to somebody in the audience. Now, I do want it back, but I will hand it to you for the duration of the demonstration. At which point, I will boot up that machine from a different machine from my laptop. And I've also preloaded a copy of it in our cloud, so I'm going to boot it up in the cloud as well. So we'll have 2 copies of the machine running. Then we'll do the restore on this so that you can see how our recovery works. Okay? Does that sound good to everybody? With that, I'm going to hand the microphone over. Carl will serenade you with the dulcet tones of Carl Bjerke while I'm doing some of this stuff, because I may not be able to talk loud enough for you to hear me in the back. Now,
Interpretive hand puppets.
Yeah, I do shadow puppets and interpretive dance instead of slideshow presentations personally. So.
All right, so basically the scenario is, imagine you have a system that it's giving you some errors. We're basically going to back it up. We're just going to put it on some external media. You can pretend the hard drive is totally blown up, whatever it might be. We're ripping it out, and we're going to replace it with a brand new disk with no operating system on it.
All right.
And by the way, the first time Mark and I did this demo. Oh no, it worked like a charm actually, but I didn't know what that thing was. He brings it in. You guys can't see this computer over here. It looks basically like, I don't know, 6 medium-sized pizzas stacked on top of each other. Big IBM logo on it. Oh, you got to plug it in, Mark.
It is plugged in. It's just not. Did you unplug?
Yes.
Why did you unplug the?
Because this is a disaster, Mark, and that's what happens. The last time we did this, we were in front of a very large hospital chain. And Mark is working on the recovery piece. And Mark starts to get a little bit flustered, and I know that because all of a sudden he's kind of quiet. And the CEO of said hospital chain is sitting in front of me. He's like, Are you gonna tell him that drive's not plugged in? I'm like, no, we're gonna wait a little. This is, yeah. I'm like, this is what really happens. And Mark, upon seeing the cord, it was like a bolt of lightning. It was like, ta-da! Which was followed very shortly thereafter with great success.
We may need a crowbar.
Why? Oh.
Old case.
At least it's on a very sturdy-looking card table that... I'm going to move all of my expensive stuff.
Yeah. An old IBM think station.
Listen to all you guys reminiscing out there.
Listen, I've got an IBM PC Junior in a box in my attic. So, all right. So here we go.
All right, Mark, do you want me to hold the microphone near you?
So this little magical stick here is our IT edition. Stranger danger.
Sir, would you describe your neighbor as quiet? He was such a quiet man.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. This has our software on it, and I'll be able to bring this up and take a backup of this machine while it's running without actually installing our software. This is really useful in cases where, like I said, you've got that machine sitting over in the corner that you're afraid to touch, okay? And other places where you need to do like forensic examination or stuff like that. So that's just what we're doing right here. But that's what we're going to do.
And in fact, we have a police station that use it for exactly that. That shall remain nameless. Interesting story on how I met those guys initially.
This morning at 2 o'clock.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how I ended up on Cops. You look familiar. No, I don't, I assure you. All right, so at this point, like every good demo, I'm going to talk exactly through what he's doing. He's using his mouse. He's clicking on different files and folders, in this case the program file. Now he's scrolling up and down.
And we're walking, and we're walking.
And there we go. He's clicked on a button.
Thank you so much. Now I'm unable to move my mouse. All right, so we're going to take a backup at this point.
He's going to take a backup at this point. And
of course, we have the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to have we're not going to be able to connect to the licensing service because I checked this yesterday to make sure we're okay, and today we've run out. So I'm going to have to plug this into the licensing service to get this to work.
you know, they don't even give us full keys. Like, can't I just have a key that never needs to phone home?
And the answer is no. You can't. My apologies, folks. I really, honest to God, checked this last night, ran through the entire thing.
This is an awesome part about life demo.
Yeah.
Which always reminds me of the Bill Gates Windows 95 demo where he went through 3 machines.
Yeah. That's the only demo I've seen that the license key didn't, or no, the blue screen of death. All right, but Mark is doing magical things. Yeah.
So back in the day, I used to practice, and I worked with a lot of companies. One of my specialties was forensics. And way out, this is doing a sector level backup to include the needed space if necessary. So any techies that understand hard drives, you're getting everything, and we can go keep find stuff for months and years like that. Really powerful tool. Also, is for any machine instead of needing a check disk, and you're sitting there going, "Oh crap, I really want to run a check disk to find out if I'm ever going to be able to reboot." this is the backup image. And if it fixed it, then you can run it off the machine. If that screwed up, you always have the backup image. Really powerful tool for, it's an undo button is what it is. In IT, undo button is priceless.
And it gives you a known state, so you can go and try various things.
Is this one license key for the thumb drive?
Yes.
Use on multiple throughout
Yes. Great question, by the way. Thank you for remembering that one last night and staging it today. Yes, the thumb drive, and this is really important, it's licensed to itself, so you can use it in as many places as you want. Also, just on a licensing note, since we're doing a full image-based backup and a full image-based recovery, and the only portion that we technically license is the backing up of stuff, whenever you recover something, it's by definition already licensed. The license is contained within the recovery. That has a lot of advantages. You don't have to go looking for license keys or any of that stuff because everything is in there. And the way it really works is we take a picture of the drive. Okay. We take a picture of the drive. We recognize kind of what's in that HAL layer in terms of drivers and such. We remove it out and we put in the new stuff. Oh, hey, I'll take that. That's a good distraction.
Hang on a minute. No, I was using that as a mouse pad. Go ahead.
All right.
Remember, this is an old school.
Okay, hey guys. I was gonna try and use my iPad for attendance, but like all good homework, we should have attendance. It would be fantastic if you're willing to go through a penmanship test and write your name and, I don't know, real contact credentials in here. And if you don't want us to contact you, that's fine. Just say, no. Or if the answer is yes, then say yes. And so I'm going to hand this out, and I'm going to watch every last one of you fill it out, starting in the front.
Okay, so we now have a license key. So while you guys are doing
Everybody.
we're going to take a backup here of our C drive.
I'm watching. Oh, don't think you're getting off there, Jeremy. I expect to see your stuff in there too.
His name is shorter. I figured I'd let him start first.
Oh, that was nice of you, and I'm happy that people are wearing name tags. I can call you out in public if you're not putting your stuff in there.
And now what I'm doing is
You and I, we go way back to last year.
Okay. I'm taking a backup now. One of the reasons that I'm doing this, I'm using a password with AES 256-bit encryption. Why is this important? Primarily for us for two reasons. One is that our backups are extremely portable, so you can take them from one place to another very easily, which is a great thing when you're recovering from a disaster, but it's a security nightmare. So you want to password protect your backups. Okay. The second thing is that if you decide to go into our cloud, we won't let you send it up there unless it's already password protected. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm putting a simple password on there, but it is a password nonetheless.
Excellent.
Okay.
That's a nice password.
It's an excellent password.
That's funny, actually.
It's all the time. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and take this back up here real quick of this machine.
We're taking the backup real quick of this machine.
You can go ahead and chat now. We got
All right.
3 minutes on this.
So this is going to take about 3 minutes, which will probably means we don't want to keep you guys late. We'll probably skip the cloud piece and go right to the regular recovery piece.
It's entirely possible.
I went a little bit longer than expected, and I apologize for that.
Stunned.
I got very excited about my wordy slides.
No, and I apologize. Like I said, I swear to you, I went through this because, like I said, something always goes wrong in live fire demos. You never know what it's going to be. I went through this last night, and so of course my license key expired today. Absolutely perfect. Couldn't have been better.
But see, Mark thinks on his feet. There's a lot of good things about Mark, and that's one of the really good ones. Me? I was ready to just give everybody a free IT edition key, actually. My boss in the back is shaking his head, no, you're not. But they were going to be trial keys. When I submit keys for, eval keys, I'm like, hey, Mark, can I get 60 keys? It's like, for what? I'm like, for somebody to try it out. He's like, I need more details. I'm like, I understand.
Honestly, it's one of the best things about live demo, though, too, because everybody here has been in IT, has been in exactly that situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's how you know it's live.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I've been voting to record this for about as long as I can remember and make it look live.
Nobody will buy it.
We have too much integrity.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, he's still fighting me on it.
All right, so we've taken our backup, and now we've got our backup here.
And Mark, where's that backup being stored?
Backup is being stored on this external hard drive.
That's a nice external hard drive where we're storing that backup.
I like that external hard drive.
Are we ready for the dramatic part?
We're going to back up a little bit. I can't see my mouse. This is also fun, like, you know, trying to move upside down and backwards, looking at the screen behind you. So we're going to shut this off because I actually do like this hard drive, so I want to keep it for a while. I do like the machine.
He likes this hard drive. He wants to keep it for a while. He likes this machine.
It's a nice hard drive.
I also want a 128K spinning disk. Oh, this would be great for storing half a song or something like that.
So we're done. And there's the hard drive.
There it is, pulled out with dramatic emphasis.
With dramatic flair.
Yeah.
Completely unplugged.
Right.
So, while that's going on,
I am, absolutely.
while that's going on, what we can do is we can come over to this machine here. Too many moving parts. I need a KVM for this. All right.
That's a keyboard video mouse type device. I like to impress Mark with my acronym knowledge. He never actually recognizes it. It hurts, Mark.
I understand.
All right.
So in case that we had a failure, a localized failure, and we needed to recover it, what we could do is we could come in here with our local copy of our software. Now, this doesn't actually have to be licensed, and this one is. Are you going to take it apart?
Guys, just for the record, Jeremy, please stand up. Stand up. He's not eligible for the prize, okay? He's sitting here with a screwdriver trying to damage this thing. You might be able to re-earn your eligibility based on some type of trivia question answered later. But by the way, I also think like you. Hey, you just said you wanted it back. You didn't say it had to work.
Okay.
All at once.
So what we're doing here, in the event that we wanted to actually do a file and folder restore, we could come out and we could do I clicked the wrong one. We could mount the file and folder through this. It's going to mount it as letter G. It started mounting, and there it is. So we can now copy the files and folders off of that. It's that fast. Now, what we can do also, in this case, we're going to do a little thing. It's a little patented process called virtual boot. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a synthetic copy of this machine, and we're going to run it in a hypervisor. In this case, it's going to be VirtualBox. So we select him. We're going to come out here, and there we go. Give him his password. I'm going to click through these really quick.
The stunt puppy lives again.
That's it. Stunt Puppy is about to come back. And we're performing virtual boot. So now what we're doing is we're taking and we're compressing this guy into a synthetic copy of the volume based on the backups. And then we're going to run from that synthetic copy of the volume. So this is not going to take up a significantly large additional amount of storage space on your systems. We refer to this as your 45-mile-an-hour donut to get you out of the ditch. You blow a tire on the interstate, you slap your 45-mile-an-hour donut on, you go to the next intersection and you get your tire patch. Okay? This takes the pressure off of you, and this is what we refer to when we say that we can boot any machine in 15 minutes or less. The longest one I've actually ever done in production in public, and you see here we're actually coming up. The longest one I've ever actually done took 7.5 minutes. In
there we
a
go.
production environment. And boy, I tell you what, when I brought that, it was a county and they were shut down. They couldn't bill people. And when they all came back to life, they actually cheered, and I wandered around with my Superman cape on for about a week after that.
I wish he had more than the cape, but it was a tough week. Can we get a very quick round of applause for Mark Deal? Come on. Great job.
I will go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You can recover out of VirtualBox, you can recover with Hyper-V, or you can recover directly into VMware. Matter of fact, we took best of breed essentially at VMworld for the backups, because we have the ability to also backfill directly from the backup copy into the running VM. So it's a one-step. Yeah, boss, what's up?
Self computing as well. They have to move back over to hyperconverged with scale computing.
Yep.
Right. So there you go. We were going to go ahead and show you the recovery in the cloud as well, but since we're running short on time, I'm just going to go ahead and kill this.
Do it. Kill it.
And we're going to go back. We're going to take this hard drive out of the box.
Now, for the record, this hard drive, look at the box on this thing. We got it from a Staples that was going out of business or something, where they had one in storage.
It was the last one.
They're like, sir, are you looking for an 80 gig drive? Are you sure you know what you want?
We have done it before, but I did flatten the drive. So, all right, so we're going to plug this guy in.
He's plugging this guy in. Oh, man. He just plugged it right back in.
And then we're going to take our recovery environment CD.
What's
And
the CD?
DVD.
No, yeah. We're going to take this recovery LP record.
This is 78. Come on now.
Yeah. We're going to use our recovery 8-track and listen to the Bee Gees.
Don't diss the 8-track.
Oh, hey, Mark, I don't want to distract you. Can you hold up that mouse?
Leave my mouse alone.
Look at that thing. Guys, disgusting. That's got a lot of miles on it. There's not a... Man, I'm getting away from it. There's...
This mouse is...
Look at him. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
I'm very upset. I'm very attached.
It's a nice mouse, Mark.
It's a nice mouse.
It might not be an optical mouse, but it's still pretty nice.
It is an optical.
It is an optical.
Then why were you complaining about it spinning on the thing?
Because this one requires a rough surface and a dark surface. The table was.
Oh, so it's like an old school, almost rollerball mouse. It's got a little light on it, though. So that's like before touchpads, right? Yeah.
All right, we're booting up into the recovery environment.
Which is good, because we got 2 minutes.
We're working on it, boss. Working on it.
Oh, so as we're working on this...
While this is booting up, you guys go ahead and do the
Yep.
drawing.
All right, Steve Brooks, come on over. Guys, the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Brooks.
Oh, definitely not the man of the hour. I've been around to these guys. One of the nice things about really being a VAR, especially with local government, is having the opportunity to meet and work with vendors that's out here providing this technology. So we're actually very lucky to be able to work with these guys and be able to service what you all need from an actual solution set, not just a solution. We focus on the entire end-to-end on the set. So everybody can drop in one piece here, one piece there. We want to make sure it works end-to-end, right?
The pieces all got to work together.
Yep. So with that,
Here we go. Yeah, pull out your tickets.
a lot of
I want to see people holding their tickets dramatically. And then I'm going to read the number off of my hand.
Is there
No.
anyone that does not have a ticket?
All right. Oh, yeah, you get a couple. I think you were carrying our golf team yesterday.
Listen, we're going to give everybody a fair shot. Maybe not everybody got a ticket. So let's. Can you hand out a ticket or two? And
Yeah.
well, I gotta have the other end here.
If you guys want, we'll just keep on talking until people have had enough, and it's like there'll be like 3 people left in the room, like one of those touch-a-car contests, to see who wins it, you know?
You got a ticket, I think.
I'm out.
Yeah, the key is quit early. You're absolutely right. All right.
So, what's really cool is,
Jeremy, you're a nice guy. You're back in the drawing.
does anybody use the Amazon
Alexa Echo?
Alexa Echo?
Steve, I do, and I love that product.
Everybody use Sonos. So now they actually have the smart speaker. So Alexa is inside this Sonos speaker.
Alexa, tell Steve to shut up.
Tell me to shut up.
Now, by the way,
You can tell.
Alexa makes phone calls.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna let these guys, we're gonna do the honor. Who wants to do the honor? You wanna do the honor? Okay. All right.
No, Jeremy should. I banished him earlier, but he's back.
Oh, well, his ticket's.
Look at that. That's my boss's symbol for I win that thing and you know it. Read the number. Here we go.
It's time to go.
STAPLES. Staples. No, all right, here we go. We're all winners, Steve. Let's use my credit card. All right, here we go. 5011091. Must be present to win.
Present to win. Any takers?
That's a negative. Next. Oh yeah, we don't wait around. 5011006. Must be present to win. Next. See, you like how I don't mess around though, if you're not even looking at your ticket close. 5011047. Yeah? I need to validate your ticket. I mean, you look honest enough, but... This is... Yeah. Awesome. Hey, guys.
So we actually need to get a lot of tax information.
Hey, real quick, a round of applause for Chris. Chris, congratulations. Hey, Chris, come shake my hand too. I'm not going to bite you. And look, Mark Dealey's busy, but shake his. There we go.
And this is yours.
There you go.
That's it. Well, actually, if you want to leave it with me, I'll take it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Else did you have?
This is it.
All right, thank you all.
We are. Hey, guys, before you walk out, look at the dramatic finish, the recovery.
Made our recovery, and of course you missed the splash screen.
Blank screen.
It's coming back up. Give it another second or two. There it comes.
There we go. Guys, look at that timing. All right, come on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, there might be one in our box down there.
There might be.
But this is great. But we have to make sure. Yes, sir.
Hey, it's live. We're doing it live.
Ray, you're always that 10th digit off. Thank you all so much for coming.
They only made it about halfway through. People are very slow around here.
Yeah, that's all right.
What happens until I use good penmanship?
Well, you know, that's an art too that most people have lost, so we can't fault people.
Yeah, and you should have also made everybody write it in cursive.
Good job, Mark. Under pressure.
Oh yeah.
I saw that come up. I'm like, that's a deal breaker unless he's got internet on something right now.
God, I was just so furious.
That was a deal breaker.
Very good. Thank you so much. Pender County